I guess I was a lucky little girl. I grew up in Richmond, and my mom and my grandmother were both big readers. I think my grandmother was such a big reader that she had read almost everything they had at the Morrison Reeves Public Library, and they would save the new books, set them aside for her. So she had a very personal relationship at the library, and I benefited from that. We went every Thursday, and of course at that time the upstairs was for adults only, but because my mom was on good terms with the librarian, they let me come up early. I came back to Bloomington looking for a job. I had a degree in history, couldn't find a job, went through the library school, saw sheafs of papers with jobs on them, and I thought this is a job I would really love. So I worked at the Cincinnati Public Library after my degree, and I think it was sometime during library school that I realized that it was more than just reading. It was about, and doing homework and finding information. It was about intellectual freedom. There were some big premises to libraries about making sure that people had access to information regardless of their point of view, sometimes even swimming upstream. And the whole theory of cataloging, organizing knowledge in a way that people could find it was really interesting to me. Then I got a job at the Stone Hills Library Network, and it was a job that people would say, you're crazy to take this job. It was federally funded on an annual grant, so the money was always shaky. And it was working with a 10-county library network. Most of the libraries were remote and underfunded. And I had a great time there. I stayed for 17 years. I learned how to do budgets. I learned how to lobby. I learned how to write. I learned how to do planning. I learned how to work with a far-flung board and committees. I left the library network in 1997 to start my own consulting business. And there for 10 years, I spent doing the same things I had enjoyed doing really at the Stone Hills Library Network. I did planning and evaluation. I added process improvement along the way. I wrote grants. I wrote strategic plans. I helped run focus groups and committee, groups of people that were working on behalf of their libraries, and so that was fun. 2002, I was appointed to the library board, Monroe County Public Library. So that meant all of a sudden it's where the rubber meets the road. It was taking the things I knew theoretically and had been using for years with other libraries and applying them to my beloved community and my own public library. And it was shortly after I left the board that I got a call asking me if I would be interested in being the interim director, which was kind of a 90-degree turn for me. I hadn't imagined I could do that. I hadn't run an organization of that size or with that budget or with that number of employees. I wasn't at all sure that I could do it. So we agreed that I would try it for a year. We would date for a year, and I would run the library for a year, and they would see if they wanted to work with me. About 8 months into that tenure, they made me the director. And it's been a fast ride ever since. So I've been there 4 years now. We've built this children's room that we're sitting in now, remodeled the main library. We've done phase 1 and phase 2. We still have phase 3 to go. Faced a big budget challenge. I think we'll be able to resolve that. I'm hopeful. So, a lot going on. I think part of this Chamber Award really comes from my active engagement as a parent in this community. It's been so easy to be involved and so much fun. I think starting at university school with the wonderful PTO there, moving on to Bloomington North with marching band and jazz band and Bloomington North Habitat and the Science Olympiad team there. And in my view, those teaching moments of those after school or around the edges educational programs really demonstrate the very best teaching that the community has to offer, the school district has to offer. So I want to thank my husband Tim and my kids, Isaac and Hannah, for also challenging me and allowing me to continue my career while they were growing up. Tim and I were high school sweethearts. I think we started dating probably 1964. And by the time we got married in 1970, my parents said, it's about time. We were going to have to adopt him if he didn't marry you pretty soon.